Welcome back, everyone. It has been a long time. As many of you know, I had to have my internet shut off for a couple months. I was actually planning on leaving it off for about another month, and everything in the world happened. And I figured if I'm going to end up being quarantined at home like most everybody is, I want Netflix. I've got videos to work on, but in between those, I want Netflix. It's that simple. I've been hitting like every DVD I own recently. I've been working on more Polish film reviews. Those do take time. I actually had a funny thing happen because the way I'm doing these, game reviews are easy. I'd play the game and then I'd sit down in front of the camera and talk to the camera about the game and throw everything together. Movies, it's a little bit harder. There's more information I want to put out there, so I'm sitting there taking notes. So I'm working on Pan Vodoyoski, and I've decided since these movies are so long, I'd break them up because it'd be too long to have to sit there, pause, and take notes and everything. So I was like, I'll do like an hour a day. Did my first hour of the movie, have my notes. Wasn't able to get to it for a couple days. Sat down on like a Saturday, turned my laptop on, went to my word processor, found the spot in the movie I stopped at, started watching the movie, and about an hour later, I went, oh crap, I'm not taking notes. I was just like sitting there like I'm so engrossed in the movie, I wasn't taking notes. So I was like, screw it. There's only like 45 minutes left anyway. Finished watching the movie, so I'm not at all mad. Like, oh no, I have to watch one of my favorite movies again. But in between that, it does take a lot watching these movies, and you're watching them subtitled, and you're pausing it and taking notes so you can write a good summary of it and put the video together. So I am working on those. I've got a lot going on with that because I want to do those 3 films, and then I want to do The Witcher. And if I'm going to do The Witcher, I want to do the 2001 movie, and then the 2002 TV show, and then the Netflix series. So that's going to be a whole thing. So yeah, want to have Netflix because I'm going to probably be stuck here for like a week or two. Don't want to go too crazy. So anyway, I thought with everything going on in the world, let's have some fun. And let's do a top 5 video. I figured we'd do top 5 favorite post-apocalyptic movies, but Mad Max is the obvious one. And you could cop out and say, all the Mad Max movies are like my number 1, and then do like 4 other films. I generally don't like to do that. And also, with Mad Max, I don't really care for the first one that much. Oddly enough, I don't know. I saw that one later. Road Warrior and Beyond Thunderdome were the 2 that were on TV all the time as a kid. Road Warrior would be shown a couple of times a year, but Beyond Thunderdome, I swear between channels 18 and 24 in Milwaukee, they showed Beyond Thunderdome almost every weekend. I have probably seen Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome almost as many times as I've seen Wayne's World. So I figured that's kind of a cop-out, so let's leave those out. So these are my top 5 in no particular order non-Mad Max post-apocalyptic movies. But we're going to get this started off with something that's very heavily Mad Max inspired, which they all are, but I mean this one really is. And anybody who knows me knows we've talked about this franchise in here before, so we'll just get right to it. And it's Fist of the North Star. I love everything to do with it. This is the one from the 80s. They had the TV show as well. They had one in the 2000s. There was that live-action movie in the 90s, which, for a low-budget 90s TV show, for what it is, made-for-TV movie, it's pretty good. They couldn't afford a lot of the special effects. I bet with the way CGI is now, you could really go into something like that. But the movie gets a lot of hate. It's not as good as the animated stuff, but it's not bad. So there's that. So Fist of the North Star kicking us off. Next up is one of those 80s B-grade, really schlocky, so bad it's good movies. Once I show you the cover and the title of this movie, you're going to know exactly what you're getting into. It's one of those holds nothing back, and that is She-Wolves of the Wasteland. This is also known as like Valkyrie the Warrior or something. This is just a batshit insane movie because you have all these women, and yeah, they look like that, but then they're led by this real old lady. If you go on like some internet message boards, like movie chat, and they're talking about that, like half the guys aren't there like, you know who the hottest woman in the movie was? The old woman who was in control of everything. But it's like this movie where like men no longer exist, so it's just this tribe of these warrior women, and then one of them gets pregnant and gives birth to a son, and they find out there's like one guy left in the world, and they're trying to find him. I don't know if they were trying to kill him or if they were trying to breed with him. It's been years since I watched this last, but I mean, So that's what the women in this movie look like. So you're probably thinking, well, one guy left in the world. They probably got some really good-looking, handsome guy to be in this movie, even like a Bruce Campbell type or something. No, it's just the most average-looking guy ever, and they're all going to war over him, which is ridiculous in and of itself. But the part that made me fall in love with this movie is the scene where the heroes are like in this part of the wasteland that they consider like overly radiated, and it's all like broken TVs everywhere. It's like radiation from your TVs, and they get captured, and they have them, these mutants capture them. They tie them up to these they're like TV antennas, like rabbit ears, and they're tied up to them. And you're like, there's no way that would subdue these people, but they're just like, oh no, we can't break free. And these two of the mutants are over them, and they're like dressed in robes. And the one, he's like got a book, and he's like chanting out of this book. And the first one, he says something like, soon it will be the prime time, and we will cancel your lives to the airwaves or something. And that's when you realize that the guy with the book is chanting. He's holding a TV guide, and he's just reading down like the names of the TV shows, like Leave It to Beaver and the Jetsons, and that's what he's chanting. It isn't like some Latin thing, it's just TV shows. And I'm like, okay, this movie's got a TV guide cult. Instant classic. It is one of those, if you like So Bad They're Good movies, and you can get this cheap, which you can. I think I paid like $3 for this years ago. This is one you got to see. You will not regret it. It's one of those laugh-a-minute films. It's so awful, and you love it. On that, 1995 seemed to have a lot of post-apocalyptic movies. If you really look at them, Judge Dredd is the biggest one. We'll get to that. But one of them that I've got here came out around 95 as well. You all know I'm a huge fan of Tokusatsu. Takeda is one of my favorite superheroes, and they actually, for whatever reason, in 1995, took Takeda's like main villain, well, not really the main villain, but sort of the main henchman, Takeda, and put him in his own movie, Mechanical Violator Takeda, which is weird. You're taking the bad guy and you're making him more of an anti-hero, and it takes place in this whole post-apocalyptic world, of course, because it's on this list, in a place called Jesus Town. Not sure why it's called that. The main robot he fights is going along Jesus Town. This white one here, his name's Michael. He's got like angel wings and everything. You see his face is kind of blue. Towards the end of the film, they get in a fight, and like blood gets on his face, so like half his face is red and half is blue. That's the closest you get to Takeda showing up in something like that. But it is an insane movie, just like all of them we're talking about. There's one scene, I believe it was with Michael, but it might have been another robot. Like Takeda like rips their head off, and you see him pulling the head off, and it's not just the head. You see like the spinal cord and everything come out, and it's cool. There's a scene where a guy like steals Takeda's shotgun and tries to shoot it, but it's so powerful that only like Takeda can use it. So like the recoil of the gun blows the guy's arm off. This does have, if you get the DVD, it is both subtitled and English dubbed. You know, I watch all these Polish movies and I'm watching them subtitled. That I tend to, if I watch anything else, I want to watch them dubbed. But I had this on VHS as like a kid, teenager, young adult. Not a kid, but so I'm so used to the subtitled version. This is one of those that I would prefer the subtitled version. But if I'm just being lazy, I'll throw the dub in. So that was what were three. So I guess my fourth pick is Six String Samurai. I don't have a copy of that, and my number one I don't have as well. But Six String Samurai is actually a movie that my martial arts teacher he gave to me. It was back when I was like in high school. He was like, dude, you gotta see this. He gives me the DVD to take home and watch. And I remember watching it with my mom, and I think my dad was there. My dad like started watching it, and he was like, this is stupid, and got up and walked away. But me and my mom were just cracking up laughing. I think that was the first time I really was like, hey, some movies are terrible, but they're hilarious. But Six String Samurai is one of those movies that was supposed to be that way. And it's one of those films that, much like Roni, which we talked about in the Polish film reviews, did really good on the festival circuits, and then just kind of went away. It stars Jeffrey Falcone, who's a fantastic, phenomenal martial artist. He's over in Hong Kong. He's one of those guys, if you watch a lot of kung fu movies, you've probably seen him. He pops up in a lot of Hong Kong films. Usually just as like the white guy. He's usually a villain, might come into a fight scene. This is like his big starring role, and he's been in tons of these movies and these smaller roles, but this is supposed to be his big breakout role. They never did anything again after that. I'd heard he years ago. This was like early 2000s that he'd been cited just working as like a waiter at some restaurant in Hong Kong. He's so devoted to the martial arts. He just get his money to pay for whatever he needs and then goes and trains. So you can't fault him for that. But he's a great actor. He's phenomenal in the movie. The music was done by the Russian band, the Red Elvises. So I guess I do need to explain the movie. So Six String Samurai is this world where in 1957 the Soviet Union and the U.S. come to blows from the Cold War, and just everything's like annihilated. So the survivors all pack up and move to the city that they call Lost Vegas. Not Las Vegas, Lost Vegas. And Elvis is proclaimed the king. So in this movie, Elvis has recently died, and now they need a new king. So all these wandering martial arts musicians are coming in, each representing like a different style of music to take over for rock and roll. So the main guy is Buddy, who looks like Buddy Holly. He's, rock and roll. He's being stalked through the wasteland by Death, who's like this heavy metal musician that kind of dressed up like Sting, top hat and everything. Again, totally batshit crazy movie, but it's freaking awesome. You gotta see it. So before we get to my number one pick, I do have some honorable mentions. I mentioned Fist of the North Star. I believe this is done by the same studio. So you've seen my video of me and Twitchy talking about Highlander. And Highlander twice tried to do a post-apocalyptic film. Highlander the Source, which, go back and watch my video on Highlander. You'll hear everything I have to say about that piece of crap. But about the same time, they made an animated film, Highlander the Search for Vengeance. This is Highlander in a post-apocalyptic world done right. And I would definitely recommend it. It's been a while since I watched this. Honestly, if you've got the old Fist of the North Star, it's a good double feature if that's what you're in the mood for, as for sort of those overly gory post-apocalyptic stuff. Watch these back to back. You're not going to be disappointed. Judge Dredd's another one. I know a lot of people hate the Sylvester Stallone movie. Keep in mind, I'm a kid, and the early 90s that movie comes out. I'm living in the United States. I know nothing about Judge Dredd. I see it on TV one day, a year or two later. It was on TV, and I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. The world just really grabbed me in. It introduced me to Judge Dredd. It introduced me to the ABC Warriors. Later on, I was able to get more of the 2000 AD aesthetic and everything. I've read a lot of the comics since then, some of the novels, and I'll be the first to say, yeah, the 95 movie is not good. It really doesn't represent things right. But I believe I saw an interview with Sylvester Stallone once, and he said that the biggest problem with that movie is it tried to do too much. And I'd agree with that. Like, they took a bunch of Judge Dredd stories and tried to condense them all into this movie, and it's too much. But if you know nothing about it, it is a cool introduction to that world. But the movie with Carl Urban definitely represents the source material better, where it's just one condensed story. I like them both, so I'm putting Judge Dredd in there. Another one I want to give sort of an honorable mention. We have two, kind of like Highlander did two by the same actor. He must have just really liked Mad Max, and that, of course, is Waterworld and The Postman with Kevin Costner. I mean, Waterworld is Mad Max with boats. If you like Mad Max, there's no reason for you not to really like Waterworld. Maybe if you don't like it, it's a pretty long movie, and there are a lot of stints where nothing really happens. But I think generally, if you're a Mad Max fan, you'll probably get a kick out of Waterworld. And then The Postman is kind of a ridiculous movie, but I feel like it's a ridiculous movie done well. Like, that's a movie that you watch it and it's like, I want to go join the Postal Service. It's going to take too long for me to explain The Postman. So those are my Judge Dredd, Waterworld, and Postman. And it's both Judge Dredd movies. Watch them both. The Carl Urban one's definitely the better of the two, but they're both cool. Those are my honorable mentions. So my number one, I did say these were like in no particular order, but number one is I do have a really personal connection to this movie. I had a friend of mine who, when I was in the Navy, she was actually a Navy dependent. So her husband was in the Navy, and I know I've joked about how the dependents were always the ones given like the chaplain's office the most trouble because they had nothing better to do, go bother the chaplains. But she was cool. We've remained friends to this day. I don't talk to her as much as I used to. I think I talked to her like 2-3 months ago was the last time. We'll do it. We'll not speak for a couple months, and then we'll be chatting online for a while, and then go our separate ways. But a movie that we both were really into, and saw the movie first, much like Judge Dredd, saw the movie, and it was based on a comic book. So it's got me into the comic book, which is one of the coolest things out there. So I have this personal connection with it because of a friend who also really enjoyed it, and that is Tank Girl. Freaking love Tank Girl. And that's another one like a Judge Dredd that gets a lot of bad rep. But that's one of those movies you got to look into like the production. And it's funny because Tank Girl is so batshit crazy anyway, the comics, and it's like they were gonna make this batshit crazy movie, and I guess maybe the studio decided halfway through it that they didn't want it that crazy and they toned it down. But I've noticed a lot of fans of the comics do like the movie, and people who don't know anything about it are just like, this is weird, like the half kangaroo people that like if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're going, half kangaroo people. Tank Girl's that sort of thing. So Tank Girl would be, the others can go in any order, but Tank Girl's my number one absolute favorite non-Mad Max post-apocalyptic film. It is just a good time. It stars Lori Petty, who did the voice of Livewire and Batman the Animated Series. She was in Orange is the New Black more recently. She was even in an episode of Star Trek Voyager. I've been watching Voyager lately because I've been going through all the Star Treks, not really watching them in any order. I'm on Voyager. I'm on like season 5, and Laura Petty showed up. Oddly enough, in sort of a Tank Girl-esque role, living on this like abandoned planet, scavenging things. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, I was joked at my friend that got me into this. The way she looks and act was very Tank Girl. So we had joked about for a while we were gonna get tattoos. She was gonna get Tank Girl and I was gonna get Jet Girl. Clearly that never happened because all I've got is the Bubble Bobble one. If I get some money together, I still might get that Jet Girl tattoo just because it'd be kind of funny. So, yeah, those are my picks. This video went on way longer than I anticipated it, and I had to film it like 3 times because I messed up the first time, reset everything, and then was about halfway through it, and my camera shut off, and I got this message like SD card full. I could have sworn I usually format it after I do things, but apparently not this time. So, running long here. Doors in the background. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and edit this thing together, add some music, get it out there, and we will see you in the next video.